Z650 1977 to 1985. The success of the Z1 allowed Kawasaki to make their mark in the four-stroke market, and bosses at the Japanese factory decided that they needed another model to follow on that success. Instead of the usual 750 cubic centimeters class, Kawasaki once again dared to be different and reinvented the 650 cubic centimeters class. The Z650 was introduced to the trade in 1976 and was an instant hit. 64 brake horsepower was claimed with a dry weight of only 465 pounds, making a top speed of nearly 120 miles per hour possible. But more importantly, this new model handled like no other Kawasaki. For once, all the available power could be used in relative safety. The Z650 was truly the son of Z1, having been designed by the Grand Master himself, Ben Mr. Z1 Inamura. The Z650 had the agility of a 500 with the performance of a 750, and was indeed the best Kawasaki so far. 1976 and 1977 Z650 B1. Starting frame number KZ650B000001. This four-stroke four-cylinder motorcycle boasted double overhead camshafts, just like the bigger Z1, and Kawasaki claimed 64 bhp from the 652 cubic centimeters motor. Unlike the Z1, the 650 used a plain bearing crankshaft and used a primary drive chain instead of a gear-driven unit. A single 245mm disc was used up front with a 250mm drum on the rear, more than enough to handle this relatively lightweight bike. It was offered in two colors, Candy Super Red or Candy Emerald Green. The green proved very popular here in the UK. 1978 Z650 B2. Starting frame number KZ650B027501. Two colors were offered for 1978, luminous dark blue or luminous burnt red. These proved to be unpopular, and the B2 sold nowhere near as well as the B1. Very few other differences were made to the B2. The front brake caliper was reversed to the back of the fork leg, and the front master cylinder was changed from a round item to a triangular one. The charging system was changed from a three-phase system to a two-phase, and the regulator and rectifier was now a combined unit. The cam chain tensioner was changed to an automatic unit, and a hazard switch was added to the left-hand switchgear. Needle roller bearings were now used in the swing arm instead of the previous model bushers, and slight modifications were made to the carbs to improve low-speed operation. The fuel tap was replaced with a diaphragm-type unit. There were also slight detail changes to the outer engine cases to incorporate the new lower-case Kawasaki logo. The front footrests were now rubber-mounted to combat vibration, and the front forks were slightly modified. 1978 Z650 C2. Starting frame number KZ650C010001. This was better known as the Z650 Custom. It was only offered in the UK in one color, metallic stardust silver, the same color as the recently launched Z1R. The motor was a standard B2 unit, but the Custom was much modified elsewhere. Kawasaki fitted 7-spoke alloy wheels with twin discs up front and a disc at the rear. The bold new graphics made this model stand out from the crowd, and the C was a very good seller. The first batch of bikes in the UK came with a free color-matched helmet. There was a C1 model in the States in 1977, but we did not get this. 1979 Z650 B3. Starting frame number KZ650B046201. The only difference over the B2 model was a change of graphics and a return to the original green and red colors. Sales once again picked up. The new lower-case tank badges were also used. This time the red color was described as Candy Persimmon Red. 1979 Z650 C3. Starting frame number KZ650C022801. The C3 was the first Kawasaki model to use the new all-weather sintered disc pads, and braking in the wet was much improved. The bike was once again only offered in one color, luminous dark blue. The speedo now incorporated km/h markings, as well as miles per hour, and the rear caliper was changed to accept the new square sintered pads. The side panel badges were also slightly changed. Many considered the C3 to be the best of the range. This was the last of the C range in the UK, although there was a C4 elsewhere, available in black or red. 1979 Z650D2 SR. Starting frame number KZ650D010601. Rumor was that the SR stood for stateside replica, and this was what Kawasaki thought a replica should be. It was basically a C3 with slightly chopper styling. Chrome plating was used on the headlamp shell, clock lowers and chain guard. The rear tailpiece was dropped in place of a painted rear fender. The front exhaust downpipes were crossed over and the mufflers were made a bit shorter. Only one color was offered in the UK, midnight blue, which was really a purple color, although other countries got a red version as well. The rear wheel was now a small, but fat 16-inch item for that all-important custom look. In America, there was also a D1 in 1978 and an E model, which were very similar, but did not have as much equipment, having only one disc at the front and a drum rear brake. 1980 Z650 D3. Starting frame number KZ650D026001. The only difference over the D2 was a change in color and graphics. It was now offered in regal blue. France was still offered the midnight blue as an option. 1980 Z650 F1. Starting frame number KZ650F000001. The F1 was basically a cross between AC and AB model. It had the alloy wheels, but kept the drum brake at the rear instead of a disc. It was offered in three colors, blue, red or green. 1981 Z650 F2. Starting frame number KZ650 F007201. The F2 was much modified over the F1 model. It incorporated many of the larger Z750E parts. The motor was now finished in black and used CDI ignition instead of points. The front end from the 750E was grafted on, meaning a change to the brakes, front wheel and clocks. It was offered in three colors, red, green or blue. The Kickstarter pedal and shaft was removed from the engine just like the Z750E. A passenger grab rail was also fitted. 1981 Z650 D4. Starting frame number KZ650D028101. This model was never sold in the UK. It came in either blue or red, and was basically a SR version of the F2 model. The crossover exhaust pipe were now dropped in favor of the STD normal exhaust. 1982 Z650 F3. Starting frame number KZ650 F012401. There was one major change for 1982, CV carbs were fitted. The larger 32mm carbs also needed the airbox assembly from the Z750EL models. The F3 was offered in two colors, ebony or passion red. The front fender was now also painted to match the rest of the bodywork. 1983 Z650 F4. Starting frame number KZ650 F014301. This was the last of the 650 models. Kawasaki was now concentrating on the GPZ range, and there was no place for this previous bestseller. The F4 was offered in two colors, Galaxy Silver or Candy Wine Red. The outer engine cases were similar to the Z750L model. There was also a Z650H model, not available in the UK. This was a CSR model with chopper styling. The Z650 series has become the new kid on the classic scene, growing quickly into a much-desired bike. Buy one now while you can still afford one. A definite classic of the future. Sir Keir Starmer sidesteps questions over probe into Labour's hiring of Sue Gray. Was this content a good use of your time? Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer has refused to be drawn on questions about Sue Gray following speculation the party could have to wait a year for the former senior civil servant to start as his chief of staff. Sir Keir said there is a process